Going live. Fuck it.
Do it live.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Okay. Merge.
Merged.
Did we merge?
Missed call.
No, not missed call. I merged. Yes. All right.
We have merged.
Success.
We just went live. Bear with us. Let me get you added in here. All
How's
right.
my beard? It look okay?
Of course.
Of course. Thank you.
How could it not?
Welcome to the horror show.
My wife said, she said, I mean, it looks okay. I'm like, how dare you?
All right. All right. I got that
We're
one.
currently live. Everyone can see us.
Yes. I'm getting it worked out.
Hi, gang.
All right. We're almost there. Okay. I think we're good. All right.
Behavior must look amazing.
There we go. So we're going to look the worst in this entire stream because my main camera is bugging out. So the camera you guys are seeing is the camera we would be streaming with, but it's bugging out on my software. So the stream itself is getting the shittier camera, but you guys get to see us wonderfully. All right. So let me make sure I have the bonus. Yep, I have the bonus one muted. Cool. Everyone is here. Okay. Oh God, we just look so terrible with this camera, but all right, it is what it is. I'm gonna have to just accept it. All right. So
It's
I'm
the
gonna
camera.
pop out the chat.
Clearly.
It's the camera.
It's the camera. No, you gotta stay widescreen, buddy. Thank you very much, because that will look very weird.
Just trying it out.
All right. And there we go. Okay. I think I've got everyone where I want them.
In my basement.
Basically. All right, so here we go. Oh, Jesus Christ. All right.
There's still fucking problems.
I knocked out our headphones. It's my fault. Okay. So, hey everyone, welcome to the horror show. I'm Cecil Laird.
Producer Dave.
And we are joined by a number of guests today. First off, you guys know them, you love them. If you're fans of our channel, then you're probably fans of Bloodbath TV or Bloodbath Beyond, or just the J Bond reaction channel. Any of the above. Welcome, please, J Bond.
Hi.
And then...
Thank you. You left me little to no to say.
You're right.
I would have introduced all the shit. But,
Well, I'm trying to be somewhat of a host. And then we are also joined by newcomers to the channel. Well, I say newcomers, but one of these two people has been on the channel for a very brief moment during the flashback episode of my bungee jump. And that would be James Blaylock right there, one of my oldest friends, and straight cousin, you know, in my eyes, and his wonderful daughter, Riley, as well. So James and Riley are here because James was not only a producer on Dylan's New Nightmare, but he was also our boom operator for the majority of the shoot. And then Riley got to do a few different things on the shoot. One of them we have to be quiet about because I don't want to ruin it. But you did also get to help out in the hair and makeup department as well. So welcome to both of you guys. I appreciate you joining us.
One more
Thank you
technical
very much.
pause. Can we lower our audio?
Oh, are we too loud?
Yeah,
okay.
we're peaking.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yep, I remember why, too. Okay, thank you. I had to turn the volume up on another stream, and now I gotta turn it down on this stream. Sorry, guys.
it's all good. It's all good. But I'm not the audience. I can't. You sound fine to me.
So we go in here, and then, yeah, that's why. Should be at 70, not 100. All right, guys, that should be better.
That seems better.
Yeah, that should be
And
better.
they're still a little low, but I don't know.
Riley killed it doing Miko's makeup on the last day, says North Kansas City. That is Jason, who was also a part of the crew. So
Too many
guys,
J's.
Yeah, there's a lot of J's on this crew, that's for sure. We are here to talk about and do a bit of a crew debrief on Dylan's New Nightmare. If you didn't see it yesterday, we did a whole debrief over, well, I did a whole debrief over on Dave McCrae's channel. We talked a lot about the Freddy of it all and what he went through and, you know, being with his tooth and all that good stuff. So if you want a good 2.5 hour conversation about everything between me and Dave McCrae, you can go over to his channel and see that. But this one is one that I'm excited to do because I had some incredible help for the entire project, but specifically on location. I had some ride or dies, honestly, for the crew, and it made such a difference. And it was something that was called out by basically everyone that has been in the business for any length of time. All made a comment on how awesome the crew was, how it was basically funny where if anything needed to be done, it was almost too much because there was like 4 people ready to run and get it done all at the same time. And it was just a really awesome set, and I want to get some of the crew perspective. So the first thing I want to start with is I want to start with Jay, because Jay was sort of a last minute addition because I didn't think it would be feasible. I know Jay was a very busy person, but I basically floated the idea in like an offhanded way just to see how he'd react. And he's just like, you know, he had this and that to say, and I was like, well, what about this or that? And, it ended up working out. So, Jay, I'd love your perspective on that whole situation, if you wouldn't mind.
Just like getting involved?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good place to start, I would think.
So, like, obviously, me and Cecil have known each other for years at this point. We've watched each other's content. We've collabed in the past. We've done lots of drunken streams that who knows if they'll return. We'll see.
Yes.
But he's definitely talked about, like, hey, I want you involved in some capacity. This has been put on hold because Dave McCrae, being Canadian, obviously couldn't come down for the shoot when we had the whole panorama situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the most recent talk we had before I came down, like, I'm a nervous guy. That's why I'm, like, hammered every time you see me. I'm hammered now. It's a Sunday afternoon, and I'm ready to rock. But he caught me at the right time, and he's like, hey, you don't have to be nervous. Come on down. It's going to be a blast. You're not going to regret it. And I was kind of like in a weird little slump for a bit. And then it just happens that I was kind of being like the yes man. Everything that anybody said in the last like week before he asked me was just like, yeah, sure, let's just go do it. I did a lot of things that I wouldn't normally do that might have been out of my comfort zone. And I just said, fuck it, let's go. And so I quickly edited all the stuff that I needed to edit before I went away. And we flew out. Well, that not necessarily flew out. I waited in an airport for a whole day.
Yes. Yeah.
Which kind of sucked, but that was the motivation. Like, Cecil was just like, hey, come on, just do it. And I'm just like, fine, let's do it. I was super nervous, as I'm always nervous, but it was cool.
It was a lot of fun how it went down, too, because I was basically like, look, you don't have to worry about this. You don't have to worry about this. So what do you really, like, I'll just think about that. Think about the fact you don't have to worry about that. And hopefully I'll see an email with the details I need to book your flight. And that's where I basically left it. And then the next morning I had an email that was like, here are those details. And I was like, all right, sweet. And we got it lined up, and then you had a bit of a issue to deal with, but we'll get to that. Real quick, I do want to remind everyone, of course, I wasn't sure he was going to make the thing, so I'll add his name on here in just a second, but I know he doesn't really care. Producer Dave has been a big part of the project since the very beginning, when we had a big break. There wasn't a lot for him to do, but once everything geared back up, when we finally had a shoot date, Producer Dave was right back there to help me with the schedule, with the logistics, with the confidence building, and making sure that my anxiety wasn't getting to me, as far as nervousness and whatnot. But you had a very particular perspective as well, having worked on a lot of local sets for what some might consider lower budget horror movies, right, that are filmed locally. You worked on those
All
sets
would
for like
consider
10
lower
years.
budget.
Not me.
You know,
Yeah.
try not to offend.
Yeah.
Jay has reviewed a few of those movies on his channel, actually, the Krampus ones in particular.
Oh.
I'm talking about those Robert Conway movies. He's got his fans, I will say that. But your experience on Dylan's New Nightmare, just as a whole, if you don't mind my asking.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. Normally sets are very stressful, and everybody's, like Jay said, very nervous about the product that we're making. But I mean, there was like a 99% chance when we got finished with it. I think everybody had a good time, which is rare, and we got everything done. Several fires that we put out were not as detrimental as fires in the past that I've been around, and you never had to compromise on the film with the fires that we did have. So overall, it was the best experience I've had on a set.
That's awesome.
And
Ooh.
Jay, you were a big part of that, and I don't know.
Thank you.
North Kansas City film.
Jason,
Like, I don't know. Jason, you also were a big part of that. Andrew Mercer from the horror show made a big part of that. To me, you know, the crew, you can't pay for attitude. You always want to. You always want to give someone extra money for being like awesome, but you know, I've had crew members in the past who are getting paid really well and they just have a really crappy attitude. And so that makes a huge difference when everybody's working long hours. And we tried to schedule like 10-hour, 11-hour days. And a couple days we went like 12 hours, but it wasn't like crazy 12 hours where we were getting tired but not exhausted. And that was the big thing. And everybody got sleep, and we all had a good time after every day. And I think that's a big part of, you know, the fact that we're not making this film to make money off of it. We're making this film to make it the best film possible. And that oftentimes is not the case on any other film set. And so when you get to make art for art's sake, for the fans, the people who produced it, the people who backed it, you get to have a much better time doing it. And I was just impressed with how everything came together, how well organized it was. I've been on film sets before where props aren't made, and you know, people are like, are we going to dress this set or whatever, and we're shooting it in an hour. And so the fact that everybody came together, I'm forgetting his name now, Wicked
Josh?
One. No,
Josh.
So many J's, you guys.
I know.
So many J's on this set.
Half the
And my
crew
middle
was
name
J
is Justin,
names.
so it's even more confusing.
Yeah.
But Josh knocked it out of the park with the stuff, like turning the sets the way that we did. I hope everybody just is as flabbergasted and astounded as I was.
Yeah.
Because it really did look like different locations, and that was a key part of our anxiety before. Like, are these sets going to look differently enough, and is it going to be livable and breathable? And I think everything came out really well, and I was super impressed with Jay as a crew. Like, I kind of thought Jay would just kind of hang out, but Jay's like, no, roll up the sleeves.
Yeah.
I was here to work.
I'll face plant into a couch for you. I'll let you tell that story. And
Aw.
James, not only being our on-set medic / neurosurgeon, but then booming.
The most overqualified boom operator of all
And
time.
James provided me my favorite moment of the whole set. And I'll let him tell the story. But we were shooting a long take, like 7 to 8 minute take. And this was like one of the first times that James was like going to hold the boom
He was
going
to do the boom old school style.
And I was
like,
thinking to myself, I'm like, he's not going to last 7 minutes. He's got these big arms. But all the boom operators I know are these little skinny guys.
halfway through the take, Thumper wandered into frame, and I started to hear this. And it's just the mic just fucking shaking.
And that was a great moment for me. Obviously, in a normal film, you never do in 7 minute takes.
No.
But
It
somehow,
was an 8 minute and like 16 seconds.
yeah,
all said and done.
I call it a 7 minute take because whatever. But And that's also a testament to our actors who are on point, on book, ready to go, and able to do that entire scene without cutting. And there's obviously going to be cuts in it, but it allowed us to do 3 or 4 takes and move on to the next angle, and that saved us a ton of time. We had originally scheduled that scene to take place over 2 days, and we were able to do it in 1 day, and it was awesome. And like I said, it was the best set experience I've had. You did a great job, which I know personally I knew you would, but
I didn't
you
know
knowing
I would.
that yourself,
I hoped
was
I
important.
would.
And yeah, like I said, I mean, everybody on the crew was awesome. We didn't have any drama. We didn't have any like set fights, and we had a great collaborative effort, which is one of the things that oftentimes on a film set kind of goes by the wayside because you're running out of time. So the fact that Vince and Ben and you and Miko and everybody was able to get their notes in and we made a better product for it is something that made me very happy, and I'm very proud of. I mean, I haven't even seen the final product yet. I already know it's going to be the best thing that I've ever worked on. So.
I gotta show you the image, the new image that we settled on. So for people that don't know, we're going to be releasing official images this coming Tuesday. Hopefully the horror sites are going to cover it and everything, but we behind the scenes have decided on which images we're going to feature. I think we ultimately decided we're going to release about 5 images now.
Let's go.
I think we're going to do that because it's basically going to be this first image drop, and then maybe it's going to be this first image drop, and then the trailer, and then the movie. Like that's basically, or there'll probably be a little teaser. There's definitely going to be a teaser, but I'm again, I'm trying not to ruin things with present company all encompassed here. There is probably going to be a separate teaser leading up to it, leading up to the actual trailer, but I may be melding elements of that teaser with the actual trailer because I think it's going to work very well after having done what I needed to do for that teaser trailer. So that's for 2 of the people watching and participating. So let's get to James. James, again, is one of my oldest friends. He's a cousin by marriage, but still a cousin in my eyes, even after the fact. And he and I have always gotten along very well. And when I told him about Dylan's New Nightmare a few years ago, he was interested and wanting to like help out. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, great. Like we haven't seen each other in years. This would be an awesome way to do it again. And then, the delay happened for 2.5 years because of the COVID restrictions on the border. And when everything started back up, I was like, hey man, if you're still down, like we're about to get it going. And he's like, yeah. And I asked if he would be interested in being involved in a more hands-on way and a more substantial way behind the scenes. And thank God he said yes, because he helped make the film a lot better. Just by virtue of stepping up to the plate like that, but also in bringing his own skills to the set. Like, what's really funny, well, okay, we'll get into the really funny aspects. Let me just do the intro right now. But this is James, whose day job is, as Dave alluded to, a doctor, a surgeon, not just any surgeon, but a surgeon of the brain. And so he has to be super smart. And I was like, hey, we have room, because he wanted to be involved in whatever way he could. And so I said, what about boom operator? He was like, absolutely, let's do it. And then we found a way to bring Riley into the mix. And I was just really glad we were able to do what we were able to do by bringing you into it, James. So please, if you wouldn't mind telling your side of that story, I'd love to hear that.
Right. So thank you. It's great to see everyone again. Going through and kind of being behind the scenes on everything really kind of put things in perspective and change things. Kind of just I find myself watching different films now, and it's a little bit different. And so But it was a lot of fun, man. Kind of echoing what producer Dave said. I mean, it was a lot of fun. It was my first experience doing anything like this, and yeah, I was interested and willing to help and do anything that I could and that needed to be done. The shoulder struggle situation. Nobody told me we were going to be filming the entire set in one scene, and I was going to be holding the thing in my head, because that's what it seemed like. 2 or 3 minutes into the scene, my shoulder started shaking, and I thought, oh dear, here we go. And then about minute 5 or 6, I felt my left shoulder start to kind of cramp up, and that mic started dipping and doing all kinds of stuff. And I said, I'm going to cramp up. This thing's going to drop and go through this coffee table. It's going to be a mess. I mean, it's and so really learned how to leverage, how to position, how to do things a lot differently. And so it was a lot of fun. I appreciate the opportunity, and I can't wait for the next one.
Awesome. And Riley, how was your experience on it?
I loved it. I'm so thankful that I was able to take part in this, being able to help, especially like there at the end when I was the only female on set, so I had to do the makeup. It was just a whole incredible experience, and I'm so excited for the next one too.
Yes, because I definitely plan to ask both of you back. I mean, we formed such a family with the crew, and everyone. I mean, Riley was only there for a couple of days, and she stepped up like she was there the whole time. Like, you know, she was a little less nervous than Jay was when he first arrived.
100%.
And like she just rolled with the punches. Like our hair and makeup, Susie. Everyone knows Susie from the channel. She was our hair and makeup, and she showed up on that day and just was not feeling well. I won't go into the details that she was ready to go into, but she was not feeling well, and she was like, I don't know what to do. I was like, well, you know, I don't know. And she's like, well, maybe Riley can do it. You know, I can just leave her the stuff she'll need, and I'll go ask. And I was like, okay, cool, yeah. And so, and you know, that was that. And boom, we had someone to take care of the situation, take care of Miko. You know, luckily it was a lighter day, so it's not like we overwhelmed Riley with like, okay, you got to do this, you got to do Freddy, you got to do, you know. That would have probably been a bit much, but no, she stepped up to the plate and did an excellent job. Miko was very happy, and yeah, it was really awesome. I'm glad that you both got to come and play. And yeah, I told James ahead of time, I was like, you better work on, you know, holding shit above your head for a while. And but you know, I wasn't anticipating an 8-minute long take either. But
right
after that, when we were able to be like, you can just angle the mic up and hold it down low. Like, you could try that too.
Right. It worked brilliantly. Yeah, much better.
Well, and
You're like, yeah, you could have told me that sooner, but sure.
and to the point you said, James, like after you work on a horror film, it changes your perspective on all films, because you realize that the girl who's scared in the shower or whatever, there's 8 people, you know, like right off camera. One is holding a boom pole. You know,
takes to do it, and then the different camera angles, and yeah, there's a lot behind everything.
Yeah, literally there's a lot behind everything. Every camera angle that you see, you gotta imagine there's 10 to 20 people behind the camera doing different shit. Like, it does when you work on films like this, it does make you look at things differently, right? You can't help it kind of pull yourself out of it a little bit and be like, damn, that's crazy what they just pulled off, because that it helps you appreciate certain things even more in a different way. You know what I mean? You're like, damn, how'd they do that? You know, you start to look at movies in a completely different way. You start to see again how the sausage is made, but you start to appreciate it on a whole new level as well. So it's not a terrible two-edged sword. You know what I mean? So let me ask, let's go in reverse order this time. James, what was the most surprising thing for you? I'm going to ask everyone, what was the most surprising thing? And so Riley, think of your answer as well. What was the most surprising thing? If anyone else has an answer sooner, by all means, but I'm curious, what was the most surprising thing? I will say, I'll start off, just since I'm the one asking, to give everyone a minute to think. I was surprised at... What's that?
I said, if you take my answer, I'm going to hate you.
Okay, no. Well, how about this? I was just going to say, I was surprised at how, like, I haven't worked with professional actors in this capacity before. I was surprised at how awesome having actors that were on book makes it for a production.
You just stole mine.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I stole someone's. No.
All right, I'm jump in.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so kind of alluding to your point, obviously, like I said, this is my first time doing any of this, but being behind the scenes and seeing the actors, Miko did an amazing job, Dave did an amazing job, and so seeing them get themselves into character, whether it was 1 take, 3 takes, 8 takes, you guys, all y'all had a specific characteristic vision in mind, and whatever we needed to do or whatever y'all needed to do to get to that point, Miko several times be like, I'm almost there, and then he was fully in character, and the shots were amazing, and then just kind of seeing kind of them then backpedal and okay, let's kind of regress a little bit, and just kind of going from state to state was pretty interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize just exactly what goes into being an actor for certain types of talent. Every actor will approach things a little bit differently, but some of them can be relatively similar in their preparation. Again, a good example is if you've ever Googled or just YouTubed Jack Nicholson getting ready for his bit in The Shining behind the scenes, and you see him jumping around and getting amped up, like getting amped up. It's terrifying, but my God, does it make a difference? And what I noticed was that Cindy was doing the similar thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even Cindy, when she was having to get amped up from running from the door, she was doing the similar thing. I was like, holy shit.
Don't be spoiling stuff.
I'm not. I'm just saying, I wasn't expecting that. So, I had worked with Miko on the teaser, so I knew Miko's intensity at times, but I hadn't seen it from another actor, let alone someone like Cindy. So it was really interesting for me too. So that's a great point, James. Riley, do you have one, or are you still thinking?
I do, but I think it's more personally for me.
Okay.
I was surprised of how I was really taken in as a crew member because I'm a little kid. I didn't think that all these big adults who were ready to work were going to be so ready to explain things to me and really teach me and help me to understand things.
Yeah, so shout out to Susie and Nora for that.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, you know what? Susie and Nora. Susie, we know. Everyone loves Susie on this channel. Susie's been a part of the horror show since the very beginning in 2014. So that's just her day job is hair and makeup. So having her on set to do that makes all the sense in the world. But yeah, I mean, we know she's lovely. Nora knocked her job completely out of the park, and we know how awesome Nora is too. So unassuming, and yet so humble still, and so talented, and very welcoming. So I'm glad to hear that. As far as our end of things, the crew behind the camera and stuff, we're all that's the thing, a rising tide raises all boats. You know what I mean? Let's not have anyone sink below the surface just because they don't know a certain thing. That's not the vibe on the set that I want to run, you know what I mean? And it just, we had the right crew where everyone has their place, and anyone that's learning, let's help them learn, kind of thing. So I'm glad that you felt that way, Riley. I'm very glad. Jay, do you have one?
Yeah, and I don't want you to take this to heart, Cecil.
Uh-oh.
I did not expect the production to be as professional as it was in general. You're a YouTuber. I've seen, maybe little things that you've done, little shorts, and it's a different vibe. Being a YouTuber is not the same thing as being a filmmaker. And so I expected, cutting corners here and there. But the moment I showed up a little bit late on the first day, and when I walked in and I saw all these crazy lights, actual actors, not just sure, they became friends, but not just, friends of the production, which is common in indie productions.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing the makeup, seeing how everything was prepared, how the set ran so smoothly, it was just this is a film. This is an actual film, and it kind of blew me away, to be honest, because I didn't expect it. And I think you did an amazing job, as well as producer Dave and everybody else. But it was just, it definitely like caught me off guard. I walked in, that we had a little crafty with snacks, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. I'm meeting some of the people, and I turn into the studio, and I just see like what we're working with, and I'm like, well, damn, this is a real thing. Nice.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate it very much. Yeah, I didn't want I didn't want anyone to come in and feel like they were working on a typical low budget YouTuber fan film. You know, I know a lot of people are reaching for the stars, but it's a tough thing to do correctly. We made a 24-page script out of a $40,000 budget. People would be like, I could make a full-length feature on half that, and it's like, yeah, and it would look like it too. That's the problem. We need to put the proper effort into the proper places and the proper budget into the proper places. And as long as you have people in key positions that know exactly what they're doing, then everyone else, as long as you get people that care, that are good people, that aren't going to be personalities on set, then everyone, it's just a soup that works really, really well. There's not an ingredient that throws off the taste. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everyone works really well, and so like, while I appreciate the compliment, I just put it down to making sure that we were prepared. We spent a lot of time preparing, and one of the things Miko said on the last day was, this project was orders of magnitude better because of the delay from COVID. Like, over those 2.5 years, the script was tightened up tremendously, better cast was added, our DP switched, which we're going to be making that announcement on Monday as well. But we had a completely new DP, director of photography, and that shit made all the difference. Not to badmouth the previous.
My man.
Yeah, not to badmouth the previous, but our new DP, Ben, was phenomenal, and that's who Jay was brought down. We brought Jay down to be our key grip. Literally, help Ben with any camera stuff, any camera movement that he needed help with. Jay ran into an issue on his first day down, if you want to tell that story real quick, Jay, but Jay managed to avoid the most stressful key grip job on the entire production because of his flight delay.
Oh, yeah. And Andrew knocked it out of the park.
And Andrew stepped up and knocked it out of the park. Andrew being our lead gaffer, Ben's other right-hand man. So, please, Jay, what happened to you?
So I fly out of Toronto, and it was a disaster. I went down there. I stayed at my buddy Trav's house. I'm like, okay, get up at 3 o'clock. I fly out at 6. I'll be there by 1. Everything's going to be great. I show up, and they're like, oh, your flight's canceled. But they didn't really, email me. And I don't know if that was because it was under your name or not.
I didn't get an email either.
So I don't know what happened. But eventually, I, started making calls like, hey, WestJet, what's the deal? 2 hours on hold. They couldn't come up with an answer. So I had to wait in line for 5 hours, just standing there for 5 hours. Wait, and this is I haven't slept for 24 hours because I was up filming with Trav prior for our channel, which was a bad move in my, in hindsight, I should have not filmed that day because I was hammered, and then I had a hangover halfway through that line. It was terrible because I just didn't sleep. And had I got there, I would have been up for 30-something hours and then had another 12-hour day. So thank God there was a delay. But I finally get to the end. She's like, yeah, just come back tomorrow, same time. It's like, why'd I have to wait that long? Why is it just, yeah, sure. I would have done that had you answered the phone. But, man, it was a disaster. I finally came, the next day, and it was all good. But it was rough at first. But it kind of, got shuffled to the side because as terrible as that sounds, and at the time I was hating life. I'm messaging my friends fuck this, I'm not going, screw this. It all went away the moment I showed up on set and saw what we were doing. And it was just like, it's not even like a thing worth talking about. But hey, you made me talk about it.
Yeah, I did. I forced
I
you.
would not have even like mentioned it.
Well, no, I mean, that's good because that shows the weight of, the good part of the experience versus the weight of the bad. So I'm glad to hear it. So let me...
I got my surprising things.
Thank you.
So I had watched Dave and Cecil work on the voice a little bit, and I'm going to backtrack a little bit and say I expected us to make a fan film, and the surprising thing was we didn't make a fan film. We made a Freddy film, and not only a Freddy film, but like a good Freddy film. And the thing that really surprised me was Dave disappeared. I didn't see Dave once he had his makeup on and he was in character. Like, Dave was gone off the building. Like, Freddy, it was Freddy. And I don't know if I wasn't expecting it or I wasn't expecting the level that he brought to it. And I was completely impressed by it. And Miko, having worked on with him on the teaser and talked to him behind the scenes a lot, he hasn't acted in a long time and he was very nervous. And he brought his A game as well. And I think between the two of them, there's a level to not a fan film that was achieved that pleasantly surprised me. And I was not expecting the quality of Freddy to arrive on set like he did. And it was... I mean, I even had chills going back into this. Everybody was out eating dinner in the hallway. And I went back into the set, and the set was like dark, and I was like, I genuinely have the creeps being in here. I know he's out there having some pasta right now, but I'm genuinely scared to be on this dark set by myself. And it's so quiet, at Sun Studios. It's so quiet in that studio that your heart starts pounding, and you're just like, what's like? We're making a horror film, and it's scary. And so those were two of my things that I was pleasantly surprised by. And like I said, I feel like Miko had that same attitude where he's like, I don't want to make a fan film, I want to make the Freddy film. And Dave came into it with that same sort of attitude, like he's like, this is an audition to be Freddy. And I'm sure you guys talked a lot about that.
Literally, yeah, that's what he was saying last night.
And so I think that made all the difference in the world with what you actually see coming through on camera, because there's so much logistical stuff. I don't want to call it mundane,
right,
but there's so much stuff that goes on, and then if those two things don't fire, then it's all for nothing. And it could look great and all this other stuff, but if you don't have the performance, then you don't have the performance, and what you just have a schlocky fan film. And that was the thing that, again, I wasn't nervous about. I was just not expecting it. And I was expecting, okay, this is going to be a really cool fan film. And to me, it came out so much more. And everybody had a piece of that. There wasn't just one person who was driving the great quality we were getting. Everybody brought their A game, and that is something that I will always be impressed with. And
one of my favorite memories of the production was after day 2, which was our first Freddy day. We were back here at like 2:30 in the morning because we were looking at footage, and everyone, every night we'd look at footage and we'd stay up late, and James felt James felt the wrath of that because he was just waiting to get back to his bed. And I'm just like, yeah, just give me a second. I'm just going to look at the footage for just a second. And then like 2.5 hours would pass and he'd be just passed out on the couch and just asleep. And, and sometimes we'd wake him up with our cheers and stuff like that. But yeah, it was, that first night when we got back to the house and you were just like, oh, excuse me. Oh, good Lord. I'm so sorry. You looked at me and you're just like, why Dave McCrae? Like, what made you choose Dave McCrae?
No, my actual question was, did you pick
Dave
McCrae, or was that like some fan suggestion, or was Dave like, hey, I want to be Freddy? And so I'm like, because you might have chosen the next Freddy. Like, like New Line might watch this and be like, yeah, that's our guy.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's not New Line's choice anymore. It's the Craven Estate's choice.
There you go.
But I do agree with you. I do agree. Dave brought it so hard that it was It was crazy. Actually, that's a good next step. So what was each of y'all's first thoughts when you saw and heard Dave, like either offset and then actual performance? I'd love to hear y'all's opinion. Again, we're not spoiling anything, but just what were you thinking when you saw it for the first time? I'll go first because we specifically did a crew reveal where we didn't reveal him in his full look until he was ready, and then we brought him in and everyone saw him for the first time, save Nora, of course, who did the makeup. So when we did that, he came in and it was honestly magic to see what Nora was able to do. And then Courtney as well, our costumer Courtney, just killed the Freddy costume and what it needed to look like, and it looks incredible. I can't wait for everyone to see what came out of it. But when he came out and like was Freddy, like when I first saw him behind the scenes was one thing, but then when I saw him perform for the first time for the camera, it was something completely different. It's like you don't see Dave anywhere in the makeup, but at one point during that initial reveal, he spoke in his normal voice and told a whole story, and like it was discordant from what you were seeing versus what you were hearing. But when it went to the actual shots, there they are. When he was actually performing, it was just unbelievable. It was goose flesh. It was hair raising. It was just, holy shit, look what he's able to do without even any voice modulation.
Well, and let me just tag one quick thing and then you guys can go. But we all started doing the Freddy, like we started pitching Freddy lines and all this other stuff, and we were all doing the Freddy voice. And I realized at the end of day 2, we weren't imitating Robert Englund. We were imitating Dave. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that is a sign of respect that we're not trying to do Robert Englund. We're trying to do Dave's voice and what Dave brought to it. And his line when he walked in was, "Every city's got an Elm Street."
Yeah, he did that. Every town's got
an Elm Street.
Okay. Yeah. So, Jay, what about you?
I was blown away by the makeup. I thought it was so cool. And like Dave in it, like you said, like when you see everything come together, the way that he like shifts and like kind of like drops one of the shoulders, and just like you can tell that he's done this before, or I imagine he has. If not, I would be blown away. But like the way that he like handled the glove and just like how he would move some of the blades, and you'll see it all come together. But like I was so caught off guard. I mean, I knew Dave from just being like a YouTuber that, would pop up sometimes. Like I know Dave, but this wasn't Dave. Like you said, you don't see Dave. And that's what's so crazy. It's like the moment he was in the makeup. I mean, I say the moment, but like 5-hour process or 4.5-hour process. It's a lot of stuff, but it's so detailed. Getting close up, and we can't talk about, what it actually looks like, but it's absolutely one of like the top tier makeups of all of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Like it's just anyone who sees this, especially in some of the lighting that we got on the first few days, are going to be like, that's Freddy. Like, there's no question. And I think that was kind of my takeaway. I've been very vocal about this on my channels in the past. I'm not the biggest Freddy fan. He's like, I like Jason, I like Michael, I like Ghostface.
Like killers without personality.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, this guy's too much sometimes. But this was so good. And the fact that this is what's going to turn me into a Freddy fan is kind of crazy to me.
I love that.
Like, and we've talked about this in the past. Like, I didn't really give a shit. Like, you were, like, throughout your process, I obviously care about what you're doing. And you would send me photos of the claw. Like, you'd be like, hey, check out the glove. This thing's awesome. And guess what? We just got this person and da-da-da-da-da. And he just, like, keep DMing me. I'm like, this is great. And, like, when you see it all come together, it's so much different. Even seeing pieces throughout the process and just you talking about it, I'm sure, to like everybody else. And even this, like, for people who haven't seen it, this is all just like, okay, but show us Freddy.
Yeah.
Just wait a couple more days, guys, and you'll see some of Freddy.
Yeah.
But man, when you see it up close and you see all the finer details, you're going to love it.
Well, and it's very full circle with you too, Jay, because sorry, I need to go get myself a soda or something. It's very full circle because if you recall, and maybe you don't, but people that have been following DNN from the beginning, I did a whole like 5-part BTS series on the channel, and the very first one starts off with a Skype call between you and me.
Oh yeah.
And you're just like, I hope you're filming and all this stuff for behind the scenes, and I'm just like, shit. And then I cut to the whole thing. It's like,
I forgot about that.
yeah, I started doing all the massive amount of BTS because you're like, you're filming all this, right? And I was just like, oh fuck. So
and
yeah.
thank God Josh was on set killing it on BTS.
Yeah.
Like 700 gigs or something of like 4K BTS. He had his gimbal, like a crazy rig, and he was up close and personal with everybody involved.
It's going to be
And
one of the
I
greatest
can't wait to watch
BTSs.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, we're aiming to make it like a feature. Honestly, we're aiming to make it its own thing. He's directed it. You know, he's gonna do transitions like day one. You know, like a full documentary sort of thing. Day one and that shit. Day two, like, and just doing it all. You know, nuts to the wall. And like, I'm so excited because yeah, he was in there and it was awesome. So, James, let's get to you and your first Freddy exposure.
Yeah, so my first Freddy, I mean, Jay hit on almost all the main bullet points. For me, it was also his laugh. You know, he could do the subtle little chuckle, or he could just do the full on maniacal laugh and everything. And for me, I was like, damn, that's pretty legit. That's on point right there. So, but I mean, yeah, you know, to repeat Jay, I mean, the look, the mannerism, the walk, the shoulder shuffle, the toying with the gloves and the claws and everything. I mean, he hit it. I mean, it was fantastic.
And Riley, did you get to see Freddy on Friday? You did, right?
I was actually able to help with painting him too.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Yeah, so you're earning your credit. So what did you think when you got to see him?
Well, because I got to see like the whole process, it wasn't like this is this person and then 4 hours later he's this person. But getting to see that made it even like cooler to me because it took so long for him to actually get ready. And even when he was all ready, just sitting there in the chair, he was just talking to me like it was a normal Friday. But then he went and got on set and the camera was rolling and it was crazy how he turned into a completely different person.
I love
They're
that.
talking about constant music and school and talking about all kinds of just random small talk and everything. And then all of a sudden he's slashing someone's neck.
And that's not a spoiler because he doesn't actually do that. But yeah, no.
No,
it was good. It was good. But yeah, yeah, it was really just an awesome thing to see. And then Miko bringing his A game in so many different ways. Ron Sloan, Cindy Cania bringing their A games. Like it all just fit so well together. Are there any other specific memorable moments that you can talk about without spoiling anything? I'm just curious.
No.
One of my favorite moments was like, I can't say, but there's a moment where I got to pump blood with Nora, and it was so cool. That's like a dream come true. Like it's either to die on screen or to help out with the special effects of a kill. And being able to sit there and just like pump the blood and make sure it comes out just right. And you know, consulting James because he's like, well, the blood would kind of come out like this.
That's what I wanted to get to. Yeah.
And so that was neat to be able to like talk to James about certain moments in the movie, and it's just like, oh, this is happening. But man, pumping blood in a horror film, so cool.
Can I mention the fog machine on how awful that was for everybody?
Yeah,
Oh, geez,
please. Yeah.
I mean, it got to the point where I think it was you, which I never thanked you for it, tossed me a damp washcloth. And in between scenes, I just had that thing covering my face and my eyes, just trying to water my eyes out. And then it was time to shoot again. I was like, all right, let's break through this thing.
It looked like James had been hotboxing in the closet for 6 hours.
It was
Absolutely.
just brutal.
Yeah, no. So we were all in a small room. I won't say what the room was necessarily, but we had some fog that we had to waft in for a number of takes, and yeah, mostly it was just everyone being troopers, just sticking through it and like just dealing with it, and then we'd occasionally, I think we took maybe one official break away from it to like go outside and shit. And then we went back in and we're like, oh, we're just so close. Let's just finish it out. And yeah, James is just, his eyes are just red. And I see, and he's just looking back at me like I swear to God, if there was a lost puppy at Christmas that like saw me with a steak, like, huh? And I was just like, I'm gonna get him a towel.
Holding the boom pole?
Yeah, like, it's just like, is this standard operating procedure?
No safety tape.
And
yeah,
since we're talking about, I wouldn't call it fog. Let's call it mist, because
Okay.
we didn't fog. There's no fog.
Atmosphere.
But
yes,
Miko, in that scene, he said it to me. I don't know if he said it to you, but he's like, this takes me back to making the original, because they filled the set with this stuff, and this smell just takes me right back to when I was a kid on the set of New Nightmare. And I'm like,
yeah. Unintended
Walk away,
consequence.
walk away.
So yeah, getting back to what Jay was talking about earlier, a completely unintended side effect of having James on board. Like, I knew that he would be able to help out in case of an emergency, right? Because, frankly, his oath wouldn't have allowed otherwise. So I was banking on that. But
and then the injuries we did have on set, there's not much he could do.
no, yeah, like a lost tooth, a self-inflicted black eye. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
right.
not a whole lot you can do.
Jay's contusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so something is happening. I don't want to ruin what, but we're about to do the gore effect, and we're trying to figure out exactly how something is going to happen specifically. And James comes over and he just leans over. He's like, actually, if it was going to happen the way you're setting it up to happen, it would happen like this. And I was like, oh, really? And he's just like, yeah. And I was like, hey, Nora, uno momento. And I was just like, Dr. James on set here has a suggestion. So, yeah, that pretty much became a go-to. Anytime we had a gore effect, I was like, how is this? Is this, along the lines of the way it would happen? And it actually did make a particular gore effect a lot more realistic and a lot cooler to see when we finally got it on camera. So yeah, that was really awesome, James. Like, how did you feel about, like, what made you decide to step in, and like, how did you feel about being that go-to guy from that point?
Well, so there was a particular scene in one of the first couple of days that I was asked about, and I thought, before I was even asked about it, I thought, if this does happen, this is kind of the way it would look, and I feel like if we did it any other way, it was going to look, it was going to look cheesy. Like, I thought it was just going to be completely unrealistic, and whether you had the diehards out there that'd be like, well, there's no way that would happen, or however they would have approached it, I thought, if we're gonna do this is the angle, this is how it's gonna work, this is kind of the direction of everything. So if we can do it that way, that would be perfect. And that kind of catapulted to another couple of scenes, and then that's all it was. It was just trying to lend out a little expertise, and I was happy to do it.
It's just really awesome how things kind of just tended to come together for the production in certain ways. It's really, really cool.
Well, and it to what you and Ben set out to do was to not make an over the top Freddy film, so the gore wouldn't be flying all over the place and this other stuff. And
I got a couple good pumps in there at the end, though. Trust me.
You crushed it.
So
you drained it.
I'm trying to think of what else we can really talk about without spoiling, but any other particular memories or surprises or hopes and dreams? Again, I mentioned briefly on Dave's stream on Friday that one of the cool things that's happened since the production is we now have you know, some LA talent circling the project to be an editor. I can't say exactly who yet, but I will say that there's interest there that we had no clue about until we had actually shot the movie. And you know, Ben and Vin and Miko and everyone are of the mind that's like, you know, we've really got something here. Let's do everything we can to make this as legit as possible. And I just am not going to stand in the way thinking that I am the be-all end-all of editing, because Lord knows I haven't improved my YouTube editing in 3 years. So like I don't want that level of editing for the movie, you know what I mean? Dave is a much more talent with that, but he's gonna focus on maybe some of the special effects side of things, because you know we still need that to get done. I'm just not gonna have to focus on the editing, which is fine by me, because there's other stuff I can focus on, like the release and some of the behind the scenes stuff, and you know, making sure perks are getting together and all that good stuff. So yeah, I mean, Jay, is there anything else in particular that stood out about the project for you, or process, anything like that?
More so like being able to stay in the Airbnb together for like a large group of us was really cool. I thought that was like, it helped kind of like on a day-by-day thing. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a very nervous guy in general. The first couple days, it's like, I don't want to step on anybody's toes. Like, I know what my role is supposed to be, but does the DP, who's Ben Meredith, an amazing guy, and an amazing cinematographer as well, like, he knows what he wants. He's got, like, the lights that I would be moving around, or, like, even touching any of his camera gear, it's like, does he even trust me to do this? But staying at the Airbnb with him, like, you know, we'd go outside, have a couple smokes, and just, like, talk about things. And eventually we just kind of, like, became buds, which is great. He's such a nice guy. And, like, throughout the process, I just become more comfortable, and being able to, like, just get more hands-on and move around and do things, and people having confidence in me to do stuff, which is crazy, because like at first I'm like, I don't have any confidence in myself. I get why you wouldn't have confidence in me. But then I'm running around, like I'm handling Miko's monitor, which is like a big deal, and I'm like, yeah, I'll move this around when everyone else is afraid to touch it. It was like really cool, just like living in the Airbnb, becoming friends with these people. And I've heard it 1,000 times before. It's like, we're like a little family on set. And it's so cheesy, but it's damn true, especially in this instance when you're like literally in the same place. It's like, not everybody was at a different hotel. There was like, I think there were 6 of us staying in an Airbnb, and it was awesome. I really loved like the whole process, and just like becoming friends with everybody. And because like there's a few of us on set that didn't have all the experience that some of the top end guys did. Even like me and James, like we connected pretty early on, and when he became like the boom guy out of nowhere, I'm like, oh, look at you. And so we'd just be like joking around. It's like, hey, you're the muscle guy, you go hold that thing. Like there were so many moments like that where you become friends with just like everybody else that's not the main stars. I mean, we become friends with the main stars as well, but like everybody else just becomes really, really tight knit, and we can rely on each other to do a thing. And if somebody gets overly aggressive at times, like, which didn't happen too often, but if it's like, we need quiet on set, like people, they hear it, they shut the hell up. Or, hey, I need this thing, and you know that somebody's coming with that thing. And it doesn't matter who it is on set that's asking for something. It's knowing that you can rely on the entire crew to do the thing that you need done, all to get your vision, and directly like with me, with Ben's vision, like the same thing, like making sure that all of that comes true and make sure it's the best we can make it. And it was so cool.
So yeah, it was really awesome to see, because yeah, I knew how nervous you were going into everything, but by the end of day 3, I noticed that like when Ben would call for something, you were like one of the first people to run for it, and you knew where shit was, and you were like a big help to him. And I was like, awesome, yeah, Jay's kicking ass. And then when we were doing the reset up at the end, you saved us a lot of time with your big screen TV expertise with how to remount that. So like you brought a lot, for us in a lot of different ways, and I'm very grateful as a result.
You got one of the best souvenirs.
I have it right here.
Oh, there you go.
So as everybody knows, I'm a huge Crown and Pepsi fan. I drank this one, but I've been drinking them all day prior to this because I was already nervous. But anyone who's watched my channels know that I drink a lot of Crown. So for rap, like the whole week I'm drinking whiskey, but it's like this knockoff shitty Crown. I don't know what you guys got in Arizona.
It was Canadian something.
Canadian something. It's purple. It's gold. And it was $12. So I'm like, yeah, I'll drink that.
For a handle.
It sucked. It was terrible. So for rap party, I got a bottle of Crown, even though it was more expensive than Canada somehow. I don't get it. It was just like, this is my bottle, and I can't wait to drink it. And then I hear some like chatter in the background, and Dave's walking by, like producer Dave's walking by with a Crown and Pepsi. He had mentioned that he loves Crown, and he's walking by. Miko's walking by. I'm like, what the hell is going on? That was my special drink. Drink my terrible other knockoff shit, please.
And we drank it.
And eventually, we just, between the three of us, we crushed that bottle in like 2 hours probably. And Miko felt bad about it, kind of. And he signed the Crown Royal bottle. Thanks for the booze, Miko Hughes. And it rhymes. How cool is that? So that's like a mantelpiece. This is going in a cabinet or something too. Like, it's just so cool, because like Crown Royal's already a very special place in my heart, and having a signed bottle, too cool. And the experience just in general, just like being able to have drinks with everybody, was awesome.
I agree. That's always one of the most fun things. I mean, when we did the teaser trailer, it was a 2-minute trailer we were filming for over the course of a whole week. Yeah. And so like we all just kind of hung out for a while and got a little too loosey-goosey at times. So we reined it in a bit and just, kept it till after shooting and then the rap party. And it was really fun. Vince, myself, Dave, and Miko, we all were like having a great time cracking the story for the rest of Dylan's New Nightmare. So that was really exciting. Now I kind of have a much better idea where we're going to go with everything, depending on certain behind-the-scenes things that we, work out in the hopefully not too distant future. But yeah, I mean, it was just an all-around amazing experience. Guys, by the way, any of the viewers, if you guys have any specific questions, make sure you throw them into the chat. I've seen some questions about like, other movies and stuff. We're not really, just if you have questions about the DNN production experience. I mean, Jay was key grip. Dave was so many fucking jobs behind the scenes. But, first AC, he was lighting, he was assistant directing half the time too, like making sure I got all my camera angles. And then James was there the entire time as boom operator and doctor extraordinaire. And of course, Riley was there as the hair and makeup and more. So if you have any questions about any of that, please throw a question in the chat. If you want to know what it's like to be a kid working on a set specifically, she kind of touched on it already, but feel free to ask away. She's clearly very open, which is awesome. Great camera presence. So let's just shout out a few people in the chat real quick, though. We have Savannah, Christina Heffron in the chat. We've got Robert the Wolfman. Robert, I've texted you a few times. I'm not sure if you've seen him or not. Been trying to reach you. Wild Wrangler.
What a great job Robert did with the food, man.
Robert was awesome. He did great with the food.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
He's like literally like dying in pain.
Yeah,
from his sciatica.
Got
and he's
injuries
like
and stuff.
Serving food like.
Yeah.
What did you say, James? Our mic overpowered yours.
No, that's what I was looking for, an opportunity to shout out to Rob for keeping everybody happy and sane with the amazing food and his amazing beard presence.
Yeah,
and I want to apologize to him as well, because like being the drunk that I am, we were splitting a room, and like the first night I think I was like pretty tipsy. I walk in at 3 a.m. and this guy needs to be up at 6 to start making breakfast. I like flick on the lights. I'm like, hey, and he's like, whoa, and he like jumps up like the Undertaker almost, and it was hilarious. But I felt so bad. I'm like, I'm so sorry. That was not the first and only time it happened.
So how do you make a Wild Wrangler? Well, let me make sure I finish shouting over now. Courtney Lee in the chat. Courtney was our costume designer, wardrobe guru, and maker of the Freddy costume. Basically,
and had a part.
And had a part as well. Yes, as a matter of fact, indeed, she may be a part of some of the. Depending on what the image ends up coming out like, she may be a part of one of the images, because I think there may be a goblin in the midst of the images.
Yes! Yes! That's one of the best shots, and that was like something that we coined while we were looking at footage and pulling little frames.
Yeah.
The goblin shot.
The goblin shot. Yeah, I think that's going to make an appearance on Tuesday, so everyone should be as excited as Jay is about that. Eobard Thon in the chat as well. And let me make sure I'm not missing anything. I did say hi to North Kansas City. That's our buddy Jason. Andrew Caldwell was in the chat. Sweet and Spooky. Hey, what's up, Sweet and Spooky? Saw her briefly. Good to see her. Ghost Pirate. Good to see you, Kanan. Zachary Haith in the chat. Castellar Garcia. Rotted Reviews. What's up, Mike? Missed his
Ron
chat.
Sloan coming
Yeah,
in. That's hell yeah.
Ron, wait, what? Is he in the
Ron
chat?
Sloan.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Ron Sloan in the chat. What's up, Ron? Thanks, man. Yeah, Ron absolutely killed his part. Eddie D in the chat as well. I think that's fans of something. Okay, cool. I think that's everyone. Yeah, Ron absolutely killed his part. He did such a great job. And what the reason, part of how I knew, besides the performance itself, that Ron did a good job is that people that had worked with Ron on past projects came up to me. He's like, I had no idea Ron could do that. It was really awesome to see, quite honestly. Can't say what Ron does in the movie, but there is going to be an image of Ron released on Tuesday as well. So there's going to be an image of Ron, an image of Cindy, and then an image of Miko, and maybe one or two images of our boy Freddy. So yes, loved doing it. Thank you, Ron. You killed it so well, and I can't wait for everyone to see what you did and what everyone else did. It's very, very exciting. So what am I forgetting, Dave? Like, I don't want to drag this out too terribly long, but I want to make sure everyone has a chance to tell their stories.
There was a question that I saw that I think is worth answering.
Okay.
Wild Wrangler says, how do you make a fan film and film rights? Because my buddy John was asking the same thing. It's like, how do you just make a Freddy film?
So this is the thing.
I got a colloquialism.
Okay.
You remember in Blair Witch Project when somebody kicked the map into the creek and then they laughed about it? Basically that.
I mean, if that's it. If you're making full length features,
Yeah.
because the way we get away with it is, if you want to make a fan film, it can't be a full length feature depending on the property. We know that because the Chucky fan film Charles was in the works for a number of years. It was going to be a full length, hour-and-a-half long feature, and then last year when the Chucky series came out, they put the kibosh on Charles and said it cannot be longer than an hour, and because they didn't want to mix up brand confusion, So we know that happened with Charles. Nothing like that has happened with any of the bigger people yet, but I know there's a new full-length The Crow fan film in the works.
And the Sawyer Massacre just dropped,
The Sawyer Massacre just dropped. So when you get to full-length, you have to be careful. The biggest component is you cannot make money with the movie. You cannot monetize it on YouTube. You cannot sell it for a profit. You sell it ahead of time via crowdfunding. That way they know you're not making money. People are contributing money so the movie is made, and you're paying for the Blu-ray media, the DVD media with that money as well. So we're not making money on the film.
It would have been age restricted anyway, guys. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely. Most of these fan films are going to be age restricted because they're about goddamn slashers. So, like, how can you be surprised by that? I don't understand that. But nonetheless, that's the whole way that it works as far as we know. Let's see. Kevin Dustin in the chat. I admit I was skeptical on Dave McCrae as Freddy But then I remembered he's a pro voice actor, and he has acting experience too, so I feel better. Yeah.
Plus,
he was an actor before he was a voice actor.
Plus, he's always... he showed us these pictures from when he was a teenager dressing up as Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been waiting. He's like lurking in the shadows, waiting for someone to be like, "Hey, Dave, you want to be Freddy?" He's like, "Yes, I do. I'm ready to go."
James, I don't know if you ever saw this picture. I'm going to text you a picture right now so you and Riley can look at it, unless you're on your phone right now.
I am.
Okay.
And then the other big thing is, aside from making a film for non-profit, is doing it justice. You know, like not making some weird, like.
So that's Dave, 33 years apart.
Oh, you sent yeah, because you can't show that.
Yeah, we can't show that online, but if you guys look, you'll see there's a picture of Dave dressed as Freddy on the top, and then there's a picture of Freddy from a screenshot of our film on the bottom, and it's almost the same pose.
Yeah.
And it's just such a magical thing. How cool is that, right?
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
So when people see the amount of love that went into this from both us and from Dave McCrae, I think it's going to be just, people are going to be blown away.
Well, and at the heart, like I said, this wasn't a fan. I mean, this started as a fan film project, but it ended up becoming I can't think of the right word to Wes Craven.
It's an homage. It's a testament to Wes Craven.
Yeah, it's like a love letter to Wes Craven and his creation. And when you do it that way, then you have less of a kickback from the studios and everything like that, because maybe people who haven't watched New Nightmare will now go watch New Nightmare with Miko in it, just because they're like, well, I watched this fan film and wow, I'm interested as to where this story all started.
Well, I think people are going to like it too because of how grounded in reality it is, because it's it takes place in the New Nightmare universe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is our universe.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to play with and a lot to not play with as well, technically, when it all comes down to it without spoiling things. So yeah, it's
dancing around everything is so hard.
I got my tap shoes on though, so I'm good right now. So while we're waiting, if you guys have any more questions, feel free to let us know. I know we started a little bit late, but we've been going for over an hour now, so I don't want to keep everyone a tremendous amount here. But any other particular memories or anything like that you guys want to touch on that's not going to spoil anything? James is just keeping his mouth tight. He's like, I don't want to say nothing.
Jay, tell your contusion story.
Oh yeah.
I don't even think it's worthwhile, to be honest. It was just like we were moving stuff around. There was a rug that was still rolled up, and we were moving a couch. And I don't know. I tripped over the rug. I came down so hard, and I have this
you gotta
I
show
don't know
it.
if I can.
It's fucking crazy.
It's hard. It's hard to get over this huge bicep. James, you're jealous. Know it.
Look at that thing.
Look at that. That's insane.
It's a war wound.
James, I think you were there when that happened. I don't know.
Yeah.
But remember, I came down. If I was 6 inches down, I would have knocked out all of my teeth, because I came down very hard. I'm a big boy, even though it doesn't look like it all the time. I know. I come off slimming on these cameras and these live shows and stuff, but I'm a big boy, and I fucking came down and I thought I broke some ribs here. I don't know if I don't think I did, but man, it was rough.
And that was literally a week ago.
Yeah, and it's still crazy. I thought I broke my arm at the time. But that's not honestly, the rest of the shoot, I was creeping around. This was the day after the rap party, so I had a few drinks that night. And it was just it is what it is.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I didn't trip over any wires and actual stuff.
Pull the set down.
Yeah,
we didn't break any equipment, which is rare.
Yeah.
Usually you break something.
We didn't break a single bit of gear. We didn't break anything in the Airbnb. We may have
got some blood someplace.
No, that didn't happen. It was all taken care of.
Yeah.
Everything was good. But no, there was some complete rearrangement of furniture in rooms and plants flying all around the house just to fill out sets. And honestly, it was really great because we managed to, like, I even brought my 2 Arcade 1-Up games just in case we wanted to use it for set deck, and we ended up, you know, using one, and it's really...
kept dodging Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Damn, that's right. We never did get to play. Shit.
Well, I mean, it's all right.
Next
You kept
time.
dodging it.
Next time. It's not like I had anything else going on that week.
I have a so one of my favorite things is watching people who haven't been on film sets before learn all these weird terminology terms that we use, and people are like, "Wait, what's a cookie?" And you know, and then you're like,
What's a stinger?
Yeah, what's a stinger? and these things then get explained to you, and you're like, oh, that's like, why not just call it an extension cord? Well, I don't know. We don't always know these stories of why they're called these things.
I learned a few. I learned L.A., Chicago, New York.
Yeah, for
the Apple
boxes.
Box. I was like, oh, that's cool.
And Dave, you got me on one thing.
Yeah.
That prank, the classic prank.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the tail. So basically, if you guys are curious, well, I'll fill you in on some of the things that I learned because, I learned some lingo too. So apparently, you have an Apple Box, right? An Apple Box is just a little box that actors will sometimes stand on or will put under the camera tripod leg to raise it up a little bit or whatever. They have a million different uses, but they have half sizes and they have whole sizes. And basically, it's a box, right? And it's got 3 different dimensions, right? So when it's laying flat, it's in LA, right? Because it's flat, just like LA. If you move it from the flat side up on its side, right? So it's not as tall as it can get, but it's up on its side, then you're in Chicago because you've got some buildings, right? Then if you move it to its long side straight up, now you're in New York because you have the tallest buildings.
Okay.
So that's literally, I was like, that shit makes sense. Okay, cool. I get it. So like if someone's like, okay, I need an Apple Box, and they're like, okay, you need it LA, you need Chicago, you need New York, and they'll tell you, and then boom, so you set up the Apple Box the way they need it. Another couple things. What's that?
Tape.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the gaff?
Yeah, gaff. Yeah, where's the... Yeah, we get some gaff over here. It's like, why don't we just say tape?
Because it's gaff tape.
It's tape.
Because there's different kinds of tape. Like there's the I guess technically the green tape is gaff tape too. It's just
there's only one tape that's gaff tape. And
Yeah.
It's the cloth tape, and it's used because it's non-reflective and you can pull it off pretty easily. But you can also use it much like duct tape. And like if you need to tape something to the lights or something, it's not going to melt.
Right.
Okay. So regular duct tape, if you put it on a hot light, it's going to melt and make a mess. So there's a special kind of tape, and then there's marking tape. So if marking people's lines on the floor, So they have different terms for each different tool, but you end up saying, "I just need some gaff," and that's what it, because it's the gaffer's tape.
Yeah, one of the most completely unnecessary ones is C-37?
C-47.
C-47. A C-47.
It's a clothespin.
It's a clothespin. It's just one of the little wooden things that you hang laundry with.
Yeah. And the prank that you pull on Greenhorn crew members is you put a C-47 on their shirt tail, and you see how long they go without noticing.
Because a new crew member will add to
So
the
I got
tail.
Jay for a couple hours, man.
I was like 2 hours in. I was like,
And it wasn't a clothespin. It was like it was an actual clip.
It was a clamp, yeah. It was like an actual metal clamp.
oh my god! And there was 2 on there by the time I got it, but I didn't realize the first one. I'm like,
No, as soon as you took off the first one, I put a second one on. As soon as you found the first one, you're like, wait, what is this doing there? And I was like, I got you with the other one.
Another one that I really enjoyed. So if you guys didn't know, the terminology for going to the bathroom is if you got to go number 1, you're 10-1. You say, I'm 10-1, and you go take a piss. If you got to go drop the kids off at the pool, you say, I'm 10-2, because you're going number 2. And one of the things that I was told by Ben and Vin at the beginning of this shoot,
and they're trying to make this happen.
they're trying to make this happen, right? They're trying to make fetch happen. So that's a reference for very few people.
we love Mean Girls. We love Mean Girls.
But yeah, so he's like, what we're trying to say is when you get to a point where you're like, you've given input and they basically say they don't want your input, you say, okay, well, I'm going to go 10-3 then, which is I'm just going to go fuck myself. And so,
Couple perfect uses.
Yeah,
on it.
there was at one point when we were up in Miko's room, like I asked Dave if he needed something. He's like, "No, I got it right here." I was like, "Okay, cool. I'm just gonna go 10-3 then." And then Ben was like, "Perfect execution." So yeah, I love set terminology. I really do. There was even more stuff that I learned too.
Yeah, like you're not supposed to say okay. You're supposed to say copy.
Yeah, copy.
There's little things, and there's a reason. There's a reason for all these things, because much like if you worked on an oil rig and everybody has a set job, like you break the lingo down to the most efficient use of communication that you can, so that there's no confusion. When someone says, "Hey, will you go grab a C stand?" and they turn and they go, "Okay." Like, you don't know if they actually heard what you said.
Points.
Yeah, points is another thing.
So when you're flying in a C stand, it's got three big legs.
Anything.
Any stand, it's got 3 legs, and they're like points on them. So they're like points coming through. You just got to avoid getting hit by something as it flies through.
Yeah,
flying
even
in
saying
this,
flying in.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to use the Dana Dolly, which is really cool. And somebody was like, "Well, why is it called Dana Dolly?" I'm like, "Well, probably there's a guy named Dana who invented it." Like, I don't, we don't know all of the stories
Mr.
of why
Carvey.
this stuff is the way it is, but we use the terminology again for the most efficient communication on set, so that we know, like I said, with copy, like instead of okay or all right or whatever, it's like copy. I copied what you just said, and I'm gonna come back. And also, usually on big sets, there's a lot of radio communications. So they use a lot of that terminology, so it's like you're not getting people going, "Okay, yeah, I heard what you said," like over the radio.
10-4.
Yeah,
stuff like
10-4 and stuff like that.
Yeah. So
But that was a fun memory. That's always a fun thing when you have newer people on set, and they're like, "I don't know what that is," and I'm like, "Okay, well, this is, I don't know why it's called that, but that's what it's called," and there you go. Now you know.
Yeah, I learn more every time I do a production, because I'm, we're stuck out here in Phoenix and we don't have a whole lot of productions, so like I only learn it when we get to do stuff, and it's a lot of fun. It's a whole nother language. It's the same thing. There's little differences, like when similar to when you're scuba diving, you can't give a thumbs up underwater if you're happy. You can't be like, "Yeah, this is awesome," because you're telling them, "I got to get to the surface right now." You got to be like, "Yeah, it's all this down underwater. You can only do this to say you're okay. Otherwise, you're signaling you need to go up." So it's just little tiny bits like that, just for set instead. So yeah, it's really, really interesting. I'm trying to think of some other ones, but I'm gonna draw a blank on them.
Well, like I call them tri-taps, but they're actually called 3-ways, and so that could be sometimes a little confusing. Like, grab me a 3-way, and you're like,
Well, and just little things like scripty and stuff like that, little terminology for different positions. But yeah, so did we miss any other questions, or have we any other points, any other things you guys want to bring up before we kind of wind this bad boy down?
Not necessarily. Just like that, it was a great experience, and I think that can be echoed from everybody that was on set, because we all loved being there, and that was proven. Like, the fact that we would do a 12-hour day or something, and then we'd still hang out for 4 to 5 hours, even though we had to be up in 3 to 4 hours as well. We wanted to hang out with each other. We wanted to just chill and talk and meet each other. And I just thought that was so cool. Just, I don't know, the whole experience. And I think everybody loved it.
That is one of the advantages of this size production, because when you start to get to bigger productions, it's not as tight-knit a group. Like, not everyone gathers around and watches footage and hangs out afterwards. People go back to get their sleep because they got to be back up the next day. And maybe the director and a couple producers do it or whatever. At this size, like, it's still manageable, and everyone's still so engaged with the project that, it makes a difference, and everyone can really bond over that kind of stuff, rather than some of the crew feeling like outsiders still, which can happen on bigger productions. So it's just really cool experience all around. I'm so eternally grateful for the cast and the crew, and everything everyone brought to it. Just made things more and more special with every new piece that we picked up along the way. So, and
it seemed like everybody had a little bit of set withdrawal after it was over. Like, we were
seem
ready
that
to
way.
go back to work on Monday, and nope, it's over.
Yeah.
And I guess we have to go back to our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah,
go back
honestly.
to the job and
Yeah, it definitely is a lot of fun. It's a tiring thing. Like, you wouldn't think that just, a director's job is just standing or sitting looking at a monitor, but the amount of decisions that you're making on a regular basis, like the amount of brain power that actually goes into it all, just, okay, we need to get this done, we still need to get this and this shot, we need to do this and this. And to a point that James made when he was out here, actually, he didn't realize that everything would be shot kind of out of order and different ways, and you kind of need to have it all in your head and be able to shift to that part of the script. Okay, so we're doing this here, and then we're doing this part from way back here also at the same time, and like that, all of that is taxing on the mind and makes you really tired, just in a different way.
And we tried our best when we made the schedule to like go in order, because some things we had to go in order, but it's one of those things where you're shooting the middle section of the movie on the last day. And, and you're like, okay, we got to go back in time now.
Yep.
We're on this mindset and this, emotional plateau. So, yeah, I couldn't be happier. Yeah, Jay, I just want to pay you a Producer Dave compliment, which is
they're not altogether
worth its weight in
frequent.
gold. Let's be honest. I didn't expect much, and you blew me away. You were great. And I was so happy for you when you got to do that bit with Nora and you got to be a part of the blood effect. Because I remember when I used to get to do that, and that was always my favorite part. I'm like, oh yeah, I get to do the blood part. And so, I was very happy that you got to do that. And I was happy for you. And
Thank you so much.
And James, bro, like, that's still my favorite moment on set, was watching that boom start shaking, and I'm like, yeah, those are some heavy arms.
I'm horrified.
Gravity was working against your muscles for a while there, buddy.
Yeah.
Last thing I need, Miko, or somebody yelling at me.
But yeah, thank you, Jay, for everything. Thank you, James, for everything. Thank you, Riley, for everything. Again, we haven't been able to talk about your full role in everything, so we'll keep that quiet for a bit, but I'm excited once we're able to present it to everyone, and they won't have to wait as long as the movie, they won't have to wait as long as they'll have to wait to see the full movie as they will to see your portion. So that's good at least. So thank you guys very, very much for everything that you did, and James, everything that you brought to it, both just in a support capacity as well as just being there and being so understanding for the late nights and being willing to deal with, not having a car to yourself and kind of going around my schedule and stuff. I really appreciate everything, man. I very much do.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So thank you guys very much. Thank you to everyone that's been in the chat. We greatly appreciate you all. There'll be ongoing coverage about DNN as we move forward and stuff, but keep to your phones this coming Tuesday, because the first images should be dropping. It'll be at least 2 images, but maybe up to 5 images. So we shall see what that ends up being, but I'm very excited for you guys to see just a glimpse of everything we've been chatting about. So thank you to everyone. Thank you to Ron for jumping in the chat, and he makes a good point. Happy Thanksgiving. You won't see us again before Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving to everyone that's going to be celebrating that. But until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
Producer Dave.
That was Jay from Bloodbath TV, and of course, producer and boom operator extraordinaire James, and of course, hair and makeup talent Riley as well. So until next time, you guys, remember, stay scared.